just a few months later, a guy we climbed with, a kid that we climbed with, who was part of the crew, his name was Steve Gibb.
For about a year, he was telling us he had this amazing climb bolted in AF Canyon. We had already seen AF Canyon. We didn't really believe that there could be anything that amazing up there.
He was slumping school one day, maybe I shouldn't say this out loud, just hanging out in the Black Magic Cave with his friends.
Steve Gibb had actually drilled something up there on Black Magic Wall. And of course that rock itself was very bullet, you know.
Just to the left of the Black Magic Cave, there's a route there. It's now called Black Magic.
And if you've been to Black Magic and seen that little swath of perfect looking limestone, you can see why someone would go there first.
It is a perfect black wall with perfect holes on it. You look at it and it's like, it's a route. And totally attainable, like you looked at that and that, it just clicked, you know what I mean? And so Steve Gibb went around the top, wrapped off a tree, put in 2/4 inch, hand-drilled 2/4 inch bolts, old school style belay, top rope this, was working on this face on top rope. And came back and reported that, hey, we gotta check out this wall, It's like, okay, like, it sounded familiar to me because I'd walked along a lot of those walls and it was the typical cross-examination, like, well, what's the rock like? And what are the holes like? And he's like, dude, I think it's, probably 512, and it's amazing, and you gotta check it out. And so Pedersen and I went to the Black Magic Cave, and with Steve Gibb's permission, and top rope that route, and we're freaking out. Like, it was like, okay, this is killer. Let's throw some bolts in this thing. It's totally worthy. It's probably 512C or something like that, and, which was like, that could make you famous at the time. Slab, like, really technical, the climbing of the moment, you know what I mean? Like, what we were all looking for. That was the very first route. I mean, it was all just this sort of, just a lot of serendipity there, you know what I mean? Like, just a lot of things happening at the same time.
That's how the canyon progressed, was from the most obvious little chunks of good rock into more and more kind of steeper and blockier terrain.
At the end of 1987, Black Magic was the first bolted sport route in American Fork Canyon.
We were excited by how great the climbing was. And nearby that area was an area that became known as Unknown Pleasures. And that was bolted early on that year. And also the Red Corners was developed initially by Boone and Bill that year as well. And then the following year, 1989, was where we really kind of broke out and started bolting all over the place. By the end of that year, we had learned that most of the steep climbing in American Fork could be bolted if you had the choss talents, which we developed.
For those guys to take on what they took on with American Fork, for those guys to take on that job and that deed, to put those routes up and to make those routes a reality, is a bigger effort than I think more people can even understand. And I think it's important to remember that, this is mediocre US limestone. This isn't the best stuff we have. This is just an area that's close to the road. It's good, and we made the best of it. And the way we made the best of it, or the way those guys made the best of it, is they just cleaned a bunch. They knocked a lot of rock off. It was like a timely thing. It was laborious. It was this major effort that they put in to make these routes possible.
Crowbar, sledgehammer, rake.
And it seems friggin' scary. You know what I mean? Like, just like rock! It's like giant blocks. And you've got a giant pie bar and launching giant rocks. It seems violent and all that.
And Boone was up there with a crowbar, knocking off pieces like this.
Limestone's hard to clean. I mean, the routes take forever to clean, and the rock's not as good at first. So it's great later on because it makes a lot of holes. It makes it real fun climbing. But at first, it's a lot of work. These routes are a lot of work.
Those guys putting those routes up is kind of an insane endeavor. If I were to take that on, I would probably have to live there. I would probably have to quit every single thing I was involved with. I'd probably have to hire 20 friends who would hate it, and everybody have to go to work. So I'm thinking like hammers, pickaxes, just like landscaping, everything. It's mediocre rock, but at the end, it's become some of the best.
I ended up developing some chossy routes, but I always wanted to develop really nice looking rock, nice aesthetic routes, and better rock. I remember being young and kind of looking for impossible looking climbing and looking around the corner thinking, well, the arete that's now Underdog, that stood out immediately. That makes sense to me. That looks like good rock. The idea of bolting Underdog seemed like a pretty daunting task. it is an obvious, beautiful overhanging, double overhanging errat. You know what I mean? Like, it is in line. There's not very many lines in American Fork Canyon. And then the Salt Lake guys got wind of what we were doing and came down and started repeating our routes, and we got a lot of pride out of that. And it was still just a local thing, you know what I mean? I think we thought that there might be 25 routes to do in American Fork Canyon or something like that. This is, you know, something like hell wasn't even in consideration. Nothing in the world was that steep.